Hi guys, and welcome back to the kingdom. So today we're going to be talking about first edits. So you've written your first draft and you've left it alone for a while, which I really recommend doing because it freshens up your mind. And now it's time to go back to it and to do the first edit. But maybe you've never done a first edit before, maybe you're not sure what its role is or what it's going to look like, and you're probably thinking, writing the first draft was hard enough, the first edit is probably going to be even harder. Don't worry, relax, I've got some tips, some things you should watch out for, and as always I've got some advice. So let's do this. Okay, so at some point, if you're editing your own work, you are undoubtedly going to feel silly. I know that I myself have edited stuff that I've written and I've looked at it and I've just thought, oh my goodness, this is appalling. I can't believe I wrote this. And do you know what? Everyone has those moments when they're editing their own book. Everyone thinks this is appalling or this is rubbish. There isn't a single author in the world that hasn't given themselves permission to write badly during their first draft, because if you don't do that, your first draft will never get finished. And this is what the first edit is for. It's for recognizing that bad writing and learning how to fix it. Now, in my personal opinion, the first edit is going to be one of the marks of what makes you a good writer. It's not writing a good first draft that doesn't need a lot of editing. If you write a good first draft, then great, it just makes the editing easier. I have found that writers that are really good write awful first drafts but know how to edit with real skill. It's a real art and it's something you have to practice to get really good at. Now, before you start editing, as I've already said, I really recommend taking some time between writing your first draft and sitting down to edit it. If you finish it on Friday and start to edit it on Saturday, I don't think you've given yourself enough of a break. I really think it's a good idea to give yourself a minimum of 2 weeks of doing something else. Reading another book, writing another project, really refreshing your mind. And that is because your mind is great at playing tricks on you. I have found it in numerous occasions where I'm reading something that I've written and it sounded great to me at the time, but now that I've gone back with a fresh mind and I'm looking at the sentences on the page, it's garbage. It doesn't make any sense and it's absolutely appalling. And sometimes when I do not give myself that 2-week break, I'll read what I thought was on the page and not what's actually there, and the grammar's atrocious or it has a completely different meaning. So I really recommend giving yourself a big break, focusing on other things to really clear your mind of your unpolished manuscript, so when you go back, you can go back with clinical editing eyes. Now, when it comes to editing, it is not just about deleting. You should be ruthless but not delete anything out of anger and frustration. So say you come across an entire paragraph or even an entire chapter that's just not working. Don't just delete it. What you should do is you should go through and try to identify what is wrong. Now, if it's something as big as a chapter, you've probably got a theme that's not coming across well, there's a plot flaw, something is sticking out like a sore thumb. There should be something that you can identify in a chapter that's wrong. But if you're getting really bogged down with all of the things that are wrong in your manuscript, I recommend doing something called 2 bad, 1 good. That means that for every time you make 2 edits where you can identify a problem, try and find something good as well, because there is always going to be gold in your manuscript. Now, you have to remember that this is a first edit of a first draft, so there is going to be a lot wrong with it, but that means you can find a lot that's good with it as well. There are going to be typos, there are going to be inconsistencies, there are going to be entire sections of text that you don't understand, that doesn't make sense, and that is totally 100% normal and okay, and does not mean you're a bad writer. If something doesn't work or something isn't working, then don't be afraid to go in and change it. Editing is not about deleting, it is about changing. You shouldn't have to go in and rewrite massive sections, but you are going to make a lot of alterations, additions, removals. So much stuff is going to change in your manuscript when you're doing your first edit. So whatever you do, don't feel discouraged. Do what you have to make sure that you feel positive when you come out of an editing session, which can be really hard when you're editing your own work. Try and give yourself rewards. Create what I've talked about before, a nice warm writing environment, a rewarding writing environment. Do something, like I've said, try and identify the positives for every 2 negative things that you think. Now, there are 3 major things that you should think about in your first edit. Now, the first one is looking for any big obvious mistakes. The second one is what I like to call rewriting, but it's not really that. It's identifying what works in your story. It's expanding on the things that you think need to be expanded on, developing things that really work, as well as identifying identifying the things that don't really work and minimizing those and really focusing on the good parts. The third thing is continuity, making sure your story makes sense from beginning to end, making sure that there are enough strings tied up at the end. Lots of loose strings that are never answered never really makes a book feel fulfilling. So those are the 3 things that you've got to do in your first edit. And like I've said, focus on big things in your first edit, not the little things. Obviously, if you come across small grammatical things that are really bugging you, change it, but this edit is not supposed to be focusing on the minor grammatical detail. You can do that later. This is a major, big picture edit. And the reason that you have to focus on different things in different edits is because this edit isn't going to be your last. What you have to do with the first edit is work on the bigger structural changes that you're going to give for your novel. So for example, in your first edit, like I've said, you're looking for big things, major character flaws, major plot flaws, things are going wrong. You might have to rewrite entire chapters or entire paragraphs or entire scenes that don't work. But in your second one, you're looking for more minor mistakes now because you've tackled all of the big ones. In your second edit, you are now looking for things like minor character flaws, where they say something that's kind of out of character but doesn't affect the major themes of the plot, or minor things that are just out of place. And eventually you're going to work your way down through edits until, you know, you're just looking for typos or words in the wrong place or a comma instead of a full stop. So eventually you're going to get down to the nitty-gritty little details. Obviously they're as important as the big ones, but you've got to start at the top and work your way down. Some people take 5 or 6 personal edits before they even send it out to an editor. And this is completely normal. I will edit my manuscripts at least 4 or 5 times before I send it out to an editor because I know my story and I know that sometimes I don't write very well. And everyone that writes will know that there are some things that they need to look out for that maybe an editor doesn't know because they don't know you or your writing style. So don't in any way think when you're editing your book that your book is bad because it needs an edit. That is absolutely 100% not true. It is just part of the writing process because no one is perfect the first time they try something. Particularly not a 60,000, 80,000, 100,000 word novel where you've written every single word that's on the page. It's almost like an impossibility at that point. Now I do say this with a little bit of a warning because you're in danger of falling into a trap if you constantly go through edits. If you're doing your 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th typo edit where you're just looking for the little nitty grammatical details, I want you to stop. And I want you to stop because you are right now in danger of falling into a trap. You're almost halfway there, and that is the perfectionism trap. A perfectionism trap is that you want your work to be perfect before you send it to an editor. The whole point of an editor is that they're going to help you reach perfection. And if you think your story is perfect before you send it to them, you're gonna feel bad when they come back with some suggestions, which you shouldn't do, but that is something you're going to feel if you fall into the perfectionism trap. Perfectionism and art, as I've said many times, don't really go together, and you should definitely be wary of that when you're going through your edits. Anywho, that's all from me this week. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe. If you have any questions, please just put them in the comments section or hit me up on any of my social media platforms and I will try to get back to you as soon as I humanly can. And I hope you guys have really positive and productive weeks. Remember, keep going, keep smiling, and everything is going to be a-okay. I hope you guys have positive and productive weeks, and I'll see you very, very soon. Bye!